Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the video. I'm not really a fan of breeder boxes. My preference is to raise fry in a full aquarium with good filtration, lots of space, a nice balanced environment because fry require an awful lot of food, and this gives them the best chance of a nice healthy environment to grow up in. But that's not always possible. Sometimes there's space limitations, you don't have enough tanks, lots of things along those lines. And in my particular case, I have two fish that this is probably the best bet for them. I'm currently starting to breed rice fish, and I would like a nice clear spot where I can observe the eggs and watch the fry hatch out, and of course, keep them nice and clean. And the other thing is I'm breeding killifish now with a mop, and that means I may remove the eggs and put them in a separate environment and all that sort of thing, and that will mean that I also need to have a spot where I can observe them and see how they're doing. And both these fish don't really require a lot of space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of build a compromise breeder box. It's going to be a bit larger. And as you saw, I built a platform there and I attached it to the frame of the stand so it's nice and sturdy. And I am going to let this breeder box sit on that and then hook just lightly over the lip of the tank, and that will be, like I said, a bigger breeder box and something that I can exchange all the water in on quite a regular basis, but also, well, a fairly slow flow rate so that I don't, give the fry too much exercise. So you saw that I was sanding the edges of the acrylic. This is something I just want to try out a little bit more. I'm hoping that with a little bit of sanding, I'll end up with, a nice, a finer finish. I know the edges will look nicer, but I wanted to see if the weld up will also change, to see if I get, I get fairly bubble free anyway, but I wanted to see if this would improve it any. And of course, because I tried sanding and polishing a little while ago to try, see how this would work out, and I really didn't like it. But I think most of that problem came from the polishing part of it. So what I want to do here is I want to just sand lightly. I was 220 grit. Just to take off the saw blade marks, and we'll see how it works out. Because this is, well, not large, but it does have a little bit of water pressure, and I want to see if the weld is any better this way. So I want to check that out. That's the whole reason for that, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out beyond. It should hold water, but we'll have to see beyond that. So what I got here is, as you can see, there's a higher back to this. The part towards the front now is actually going to be the front, and I'm going to put a lip on the front of this, and I'm going to have obviously an access port for the water to go up into this. I'm going to have to check to see if I'm going to need baffles and stuff. I'm going to try a few new things out here. I want to try, like I said, this is going to be low flow rate, so I don't have to really worry about this being like turbulent or having to put something in there to slow the flow rate down. I'm going to try and regulate that before it gets to this. So this is, well, this is the box, and it looks like every other hob I've made and a bunch of other stuff, because this is the basis for everything that you can make out of acrylic for an aquarium, filtration, aquariums themselves, breeder boxes. They all start off by making a box. So what I'm going to do here is, as you see right at the top of the screen, just barely in the shot, is a hole. I put a 1-inch hole in this, and this is going to be the lip. There's no weight on this, but it is crucial that this is even with the top of the breeder box. So there's no actual, like if you run your finger across the top of it, you don't actually feel any kind of lip, because the water has to flow into this and out of this and flow in and out evenly. So that's a little bit tricky doing that. I had thought about, instead of having this bracket be on the face like this, have it go up on top. And I've done that before with hobs, but this particular case, there's very, very little flow rate here, and I wanted to make sure that at least there wasn't going to be a chance of leaking, and this makes a much better scene. So I need to put a fence around this side, and then of course a trough and a fence around the other side, just to guide the small amount of water that's going to go into this and to make sure it goes where I want it to. So that's going to go on there, and it's going to continue this U around, and then of course I'm going to make the slot on the other side for the water to escape. Now, one of the things I was thinking about when I was making this, I would just put a cap on this and prevent the bubbling and splashing, and the thing I normally do when it comes to this sort of project. But because this is going to be, again, a very low flow rate, I decided instead to cut some sponges and use those sponges as my deterrent for water splashing, and of course, in the case of the outflow, fry leaving this. I want obviously the fry to stay in here and not go for a very short adventure, I suspect, in the aquarium itself. So now this, I didn't actually calculate the volume of this, but it's not much. We're looking at probably somewhere between 1 and 2 gallons. So if I even have 1 drip per second going through this, you're looking at 50 gallons a week, which is more than enough turnover to keep this nice and clean and healthy. But that's the plan anyway. We're going to have to run it. I'm going to have to test it out. And of course make adjustments. That's why the lift stack is left as a friction fit. I'm not entirely certain how much the lift stack is going to need to protrude up above this lip. I know it has to go up above a certain amount, because if it were flush, then as this filled up, it would just end up having a bit of a backflow into the lift stack instead of just flowing out over the lip there. But how much, I don't know yet. Until I run this, get it all saturated with water and have it bubble for a little while, check for leaks and all that sort of stuff, I won't really know. And of course, the amount of air that needs to go into this to get the right amount of flow. I mean, I've ballparked it, but you never know until it is actually running before you can make those sorts of adjustments. So this is almost done now. You can see that's the outflow, and the lift stack and everything else is in place now. You can see I put some holes there, put a sponge at the bottom, of course, because I don't want any of the tank's inhabitants getting into this, because that would be just as bad. This sponge I am leaving a little bit higher. As you can see, it doesn't go down into the very bottom part, because I want to have a little bit of flow there. But the outflow, of course, has to be snug, and it's all the way to the bottom. Again, not much flow. So this should be more than enough, and I have an inch of lip there in case either of those get a little bit dirty, and of course I'll be keeping an eye on it. So what I've done now is I've set it on its platform, which by the way is massive overkill for this, but I had some scrap 3/4 inch, so it was just as easy to make it out of that as anything else. So I filled it up with water, and as you see, it's not leaking, and now I'm just going to hook up the air and let it fill up the rest of the way. Now, it's probably, considerably more than 1 drip per minute, but like I said, I want to run it. I want to see how much turbulence there is. I'm going to put some stuff in the water the next day from now, and we'll see how that works, see what kind of flow there is, see if there's any real issues with that sort of thing. Test it out, and this is it. This is should be an interesting project. It should do what it's meant to do. All the weight is on the platform, none of it's on the aquarium, because it is a little bit large. Even if it were just 1 gallon, having 10 pounds of torque on the side of a fish tank is not the best of things. And anyway, we'll test it out and figure out how it goes. And as you can see here, I get a nice regular drip, so that is exactly what I want. It's probably a little bit more of adjusting needs to be done. We'll see. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Leave comments, let me know what you think of this. And for Sunday's vlog, I hopefully will have something in here. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Probably some of the young killifish that I'm putting in a bin at the moment. So that's the most likely candidate. So again, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.